What do you think of the new Epstein files that have been released today? It's honestly annoying because releasing only parts of it just creates more confusion. If they're going to make the Epstein files public, they should release everything. No slow trickle, no heavy redactions that make it meaningless. Anything short of full transparency just feels like a way to let evidence fade away or conveniently vanish later. At this point, it feels like they're letting the public do the work. People are spotting the things that should have been redacted but weren't. Think of it like telling a lie. You have to know how far you can stretch it. You didn't catch a fish that big, but you did catch a pretty big one. Big enough that you and your buddy had to reel it in together. You almost got it into the boat before it smacked your friend in the face with its tail and swam off. And now Tom's wrong for saying you claimed it was that big. That's what this feels like. The files are being released piece by piece so they can see how people react, what gets questioned, and what gets accepted. Then it all goes back to the think tank, where they adjust the story and workshop something the public is more likely to believe next time. It's honestly sickening that after all these massive leaks and thousands of pages of testimony, not a single high-ranking individual has faced real charges for their connection to the Epstein network. Well, except for Ghislaine Maxwell, who was moved to a very comfortable facility in Texas where she's treated like a VIP. Just a total coincidence, surely. These documents serve as living, breathing proof that if your bank account is large enough, the laws of the land simply do not apply to you. You aren't playing by the same rules as the rest of us. Exactly. It's a two-tiered legal system, one for the people who struggle to pay rent and another for the people who own the buildings. For them, a crime isn't a crime. It's just a public relations issue that can be managed with the right lawyers and enough campaign donations. None of this has anything to do with national security, so I don't see why anything should be hidden except the names of victims. Every other blackout just feels like it's there to shield powerful people, politicians, wealthy insiders, or even stock prices that might tank if the full truth came out. It's honestly disgusting. The level of incompetence in the redaction process is stunning. They used black boxes in PDFs without actually flattening the images or removing the metadata. Anyone with a mouse could literally copy the hidden text and see what was underneath. It's almost hard to believe it was a mistake. Either the DOJ under this administration is so technologically illiterate that they shouldn't be handling a calculator, or someone on the inside intentionally left a trail for the public to find. Regardless, it shows just how messy and desperate the cover-up has become. Why the fuck are we still debating fucking anything? Trump and Epstein have more pictures together than I do with my goddamn parents. One specific file stands out. The documentation where Mark Epstein, Jeffrey's own brother, expresses his firm belief that Donald Trump was the one who ordered Jeffrey's death in prison to keep him from testifying. When you look at the timeline, it's the only thing that makes sense. Epstein was the ultimate liability for the most powerful man in the world at the time. The cameras malfunctioned, the guards fell asleep, and the high-profile prisoner who knew everyone's secrets suddenly vanished. It's a script straight out of a mob movie. The way they are handling the visual evidence is purely manipulative. They release photos of famous figures with their families, but they blur out the faces of the children, as if they are unidentified victims. It's a cheap trick to stir up outrage and make people think they're looking at a crime scene instead of a family vacation. It's all part of the information war. By mixing real, horrifying evidence with edited or out-of-context photos, they make the truth much harder to find. It creates so much noise and confusion that when a real, incriminating photo actually surfaces, people are already too skeptical or exhausted to believe it's genuine. Calling these people pedophiles at this point feels like we are downplaying the situation. What we are reading about in these documents is a systematic industrial-scale operation involving kidnapping, human trafficking, and ritualistic abuse. You're right, pedophile is a clinical term, but this is something much more organized and sinister. This was a network designed to compromise powerful men, collect collateral on them, and ensure that everyone at the top was tied together by the same horrific secrets. It's a mechanism of control, not just a series of individual crimes. Let's not forget the most damning part. The FBI already had a list of 10 major co-conspirators back in 2019. They had the names, they had the evidence, and they simply chose to walk away. The system didn't fail, it functioned exactly as it was intended to, by protecting the elite. It makes you wonder what kind of leverage those 10 people had. If the FBI, with all its power, was afraid to move against them, it suggests that these individuals are so deeply embedded in the government and the economy that pulling them out would bring the whole house of cards down. The strangest part of this new dump is that letter Epstein allegedly wrote from prison to Larry Nassar. It contains some pretty gross insinuations about Trump. But here's the kicker. The DOJ claimed it was a fake just a day later. My question is, if you know it's a forgery, why include it in the official archive at all? It looks like a deliberate attempt to muddy the waters and then wash their hands of it. It's a classic poisoning the well tactic. They mix legitimate documents with an obvious fake so that when something truly damning comes out later, they can just point back to the Nassar letter and say, see, it's all just made up nonsense. Prosecutors have now confirmed that Trump flew on Epstein's plane at least 8 times back in the 90s. We used to think it was only once or twice. What's really unsettling is a 1993 flight where the manifest only listed 2 people, Epstein and Trump, just 2 billionaires in a private jet. I'd love to know what they were discussing without any witnesses around. And don't forget that other flight where the third passenger was an unidentified 20-year-old woman. The DOJ redacted her name, calling her a potential witness in the Maxwell case. If she's a witness, that implies there was definitely something worth witnessing. Everyone is talking about Trump, but have you seen these new photos of Bill Clinton? He's in a pool with Maxwell in one, and in another, he's in a hot tub with a woman whose face is completely censored. His PR team is already screaming that the White House is using him as a scapegoat to distract from their own current scandals. The wildest part is that these photos sat in the FBI archives for years. Clinton always claimed he barely knew the guy, but here they are looking like best friends on vacation. Who are we even supposed to believe at this point? There are photos in the case files that actually make my skin crawl. On the body of one of Epstein's girls, there were quotes from the novel Lolita written out. This wasn't just a crime, it was some kind of sick, twisted aesthetic. They turned abuse into their own personal art project. This proves Epstein wasn't just using services. He was obsessed with the very idea of corruption. The fact that this is only surfacing now, years after his death, is an absolute disgrace to the investigation. The documents describe a literal conveyor belt. Ghislaine Maxwell would literally approach college students in Palm Beach and offer them office work that eventually turned into a nightmare. It was a full-blown corporation dedicated to hunting and grooming young women. And the scariest part is that dozens of people worked on this belt. Drivers, housekeepers, lawyers, they all knew. They all collected a paycheck. And yet, almost none of them are behind bars. The correspondence from Prince Andrew, who is now just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, is the final straw. He wrote to Maxwell from Balmoral, complaining that he was tired and asking if she had found him any new unsuitable friends. Unsuitable? Seriously? That is clearly a code word. There's also a part where he asks to arrange a 2-legged sightseeing tour in Peru. They discussed human beings like they were cattle or tourist attractions. It's no wonder the king stripped him of all his titles. After spending hours digging through these files, one realization hits harder than anything else. This isn't just about one man or one island. This is a glimpse into a parallel world where the ultra-wealthy view the rest of humanity as disposable resources. They built a system so protected and so corrupt that even when the truth is staring us in the face, the gears of justice refuse to turn. We are living in a time where secrets are no longer hidden, they are simply ignored. The real question isn't what is in the files, but what are we actually going to do now that we know?